Hey everybody, welcome back to the IzzyVerse. Today we are going to be talking about Stranger Things. I have some great guests with me that you've seen before in our Kickstarter show. That's going to be showing up in a minute or two. So before we get started, as you already know, I have a couple of things to plug, starting with the BX show happening next week. I'm going to be doing a pre-show that's going to happen a few days earlier, and be on the lookout for that one. It's going to be really excited. Me and Furry Comics are working together to make sure you guys have this nice show going on, as well as JC and Lone Wolf Comics in the Bronx. Go out and check it out. Another thing I'm really excited to share with everybody, which you probably have heard. If you haven't heard, then go ahead and now's the time. ComicExposure.com has given us a 15% discount promo code. All you have to do is put IzzyVerse as a promo code, and you will get 15% off your purchase. That's right, 15% off your entire purchase. Go use it. It's awesome. They got some great variants that you might want to get. And if there's a variant that you might want, you can get 15% off by using my promo code. All right, guys, it is now time to talk a little bit about Stranger Things. With me, I'm going to share the screen with Chastity and Chris. Hey, guys, what's going on? Welcome to the IzzyVerse again. All right, now Chastity and Chris they're out in, where are you guys at? Atlanta, Georgia, something like that?
No, we're a little further up north. We're in Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, that's right, Richmond. So yeah, we're going coast to coast in some way, right? But you guys watch Stranger Things. Let's talk a little bit about Stranger Things. And yes, I am going to let everybody know right up front that this will definitely be a complete spoiler show. We are doing a full spoiler alert. So please, if you have not watched Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1, or Volume 1 as they're going with it now, this video isn't going anywhere. If you want to see it live, watch live, and you don't care, come stick with us. If you do care, then make sure you watch the season, because there's a lot to talk about, guys. Isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah.
So much stuff to talk about. So keep that in mind. We are going to be doing full spoiler review of Stranger Things. So before we get started, let's do a quick recap of what has happened so far. So we have the kids from Hawkins are now split, right? So we have the Byers and 11 who have moved to California. And the rest of the gang is in Hawkins, and everybody's grown, man. What do you think?
Yeah. Most of some of that water over there, and
Whew, they gotten big. This is what the pandemic does, right?
Yeah, man. You can tell, like, even before the production, got stalled. Like, by season 3, they were starting to get up there. I figured they were gonna do a time jump with season 4. But then when we heard reports that, again, COVID just hit, when they were going to production, they got stalled and nobody knew anything. Like, dang, man, I don't know what's going to happen now. But yeah, like 2 years later, and it shows in some of those episodes.
Yeah, right. Chastity, tell me what you think about Lucas. His nice little flat top going on there, right?
He is a grown little man now. He is no longer a kid.
He is unrecognizable. Like I did not recognize that was Lucas, right? And Dustin has his teeth again. So his teeth he has his teeth, so that's nice. And they made a little joke about it. It's like, dude, too soon. All right.
He was like the youngest looking one though. I gotta admit, like he probably looked the young. He still could pass for like actual child compared to the rest of them. But like, geez, man, they've gotten so big.
That's right. And just to let everybody who's watching right now, what I'm going to do, I have a contest running around. And what I would like to do is if you leave a like and leave a comment, you must leave a comment in our YouTube channel. And that's going to get you involved into a contest, because once we hit that 750 mark, I will be giving away this book, Aquaman. Now it's hard to see it with the green screen, but Aquaman number 1, I'm be giving this book away. But what's interesting enough is that this is a sketch cover, right? So this is a sketch, and I'm going to be drawing on this book, and I'm going to give this sketch away for when we hit 750 subscribers. So if you leave a comment in YouTube, you will qualify for that. If we hit 800, then it's going to be this one, Spawn. You're going to get a nice little Spawn sketch. And really, I'm going to draw what you guys want. I'm not going to even make the decision of drawing myself. I'm going to pick what you guys want. So go ahead and leave a comment for us, and in this video, so we could definitely talk about it. All right, let's go back into now talking a little bit more about where we are with the story. So we have the buyers, we have 11, they're in California, and we're dealing with really what I find very interesting is the story of Will and 11 when the show starts, right? So let's talk a little bit about 11 and how she's handling high school in California. So you guys take it away. What do you think?
You go first.
No, you go ahead.
Well, my whole thing was, okay, so because she's doing the voiceover, like writing the letters to Mike and everything, and she said how great everything is, but when we actually see the montage, like she's not adjusting well at all. It's almost like now without her powers, it kind of took away from her who she was and everything she has to deal with. She in the past she had a power to kind of help her out, but now she's even more of an outcast. Even with being normal, she still doesn't fit in, and it's showing it's very obvious right here. And even with Will, he's not doing that great either, and he's trying to comfort her. It's like this very odd brother sister dynamic that they're trying to pass off on each other, but it's not working.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's in denial, right, of what's really happening, right? Because she constantly she tells Mike everything is doing great. I made these friends, and she's referring to really those who are not her friends as her friends, right? And it's very weird because she is being bullied like anybody would have been bullied at that time. And the sad thing is, at that particular time when someone was being bullied, you didn't really get a lot of support, to help them, right? Because she was being bullied in front of the teacher, and the teacher's like, nothing. What kind of teacher does that? You know what I mean? And it's very weird because, again, she's constantly telling Mike through her letters that things are great. I met this friend, and we go here, we go there, and you see Will, and Will's doing this painting, right? We're seeing this painting now. We never see this painting. I'm assuming we will see it.
That's what I'm thinking. There's a foreshadowing there somewhere.
There's something going on there with Will. Chastity, what do you think is happening to Will?
know how to put it. So I think, give me a second here. He's going through some life changes of his own, or realizing who he is, trying to become who he is. But I think that he's just as much of an outcast as she is, but he's
It's a lot of pretending.
just yeah.
A lot of pretending. Everybody, on the exterior, they're hiding. They're trying to be something they're not.
Yeah,
To
that's
please,
the best way to put it.
everybody
This is
else.
Why he talks and I don't.
No, yeah, and I think that's definitely the case with Will as well as L, right? We'll call it L. I think the difference is that in his case, he's dealing with growing up to becoming something that he probably thought he wasn't going to be. Again, season 3 was touching on the subject that everybody was growing and he wasn't, right? Where I think season 4, he's growing, he's identifying that he's growing, but his identity is being questioned, right? Especially when dealing with Mike, right? So Mike comes, right? He shows up. They go into they go to California, in which he rekindles his flame with Elle, but Will, again, just like in season 3, he's kind of put to the side with Mike. Right?
Yeah, Mike just kind of like
And something about that relationship between Mike and Will, like, I mean, I know that they have their arguments or whatever, but like they seem so distant that it just doesn't.
Well, it's kind of like what he said. I mean, you got to realize, Mike, he's all about 11. Like they're a couple, and it kind of goes back to what and remember, I believe it was this season 3 when they were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and Mike and Lucas, they didn't really want to play. They didn't want to play games anymore. You know what I'm saying? They want to talk to girls. Mm-hmm. And Will, he wants to be a child. In that season, he still wanted to be a child. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it has something to do with season 1, how like he was gone for so long, he kind of missed out on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to get that back, but they've grown past that. And it shows even more in this season here, because again, like, Mike, he's really, wanting to be, have a relationship with Elle. I call her Elle. Especially since they're not even there anymore. Like, they're far apart and they get to visit each other. But now Will, it's like they're very similar in that aspect that, they're both kind of wanting Mike's attention.
Mm-hmm. Ways, so. Well, maybe in the same way. Who knows, right?
Yeah, we're not going to go there yet. There's been some hints and nuances to it, but that's still yet to be determined.
Yeah, I do believe there have been very much hints since season 3, right? There's been hints, especially with Will and his growing into becoming the person that he eventually will become, right? But he's still dealing with I guess you could say, the ghost of his past. The one character from it, since we're talking about the California group, as you mentioned in when we were talking earlier, this is like X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold, right?
This is X-Men Gold team.
This is X-Men Gold team, right? X-Men. So with this particular group, we have Jonathan and Argyle. Jonathan, dare I say, he's been shortchanged this season. We don't have a lot of Jonathan going on. In fact, Jonathan. He has become a stoner friend with his pizza delivery friend, Argyle, which I must say, I've come to enjoy that character because
he's entertaining.
He reminds me of the bus driver in The Simpsons in some way, right? And he every time he has a scene, he kind of steals the scene in some way or another, whether it's when the agents come in, or when they have the agent in the car who's dying, or when he's making the tombstone for the agent.
Hell yeah.
What did they name they gave the agent a secret code name. I'm trying to. It was something
Secret agent.
Secret agent man or something
like hero, secret agent hero, something like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So they came out, he's like, I gotta make a tombstone, and I'm like, I gotta write our names on I was like, dude, no, you're not supposed to do that kind of
But
stuff.
something else I think we need to point out about the buyers, it's a running joke at this point now. Like they're always kind of like in the background, you know, because the mom, she's not there. She's going to Alaska for a special trip. You know, he's left in charge, and he's like just just getting high all the time. And poor Will, he's getting dissed by his friend. You know, it's just like.
And Joyce just went off, and she just left them pretty much. Let's go to that story.
Let's like she's had to go to Alaska.
Right. Let's go to why Joyce is in Alaska, and the reason why Joyce had to go to Alaska is because Hopper lives.
Big spoiler. We saw that in the trailer like 3 months ago.
it was one of those spoilers that okay, he's dead, but you tell us he's alive in the trailer. Which I always thought was a weird thing to do. It's like, how are you going to give us a spoiler in a trailer?
But we knew he was alive in season 3 in the after credits, and not the American. Like, I mean, who else was it? You know, so.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Hopper story, because the Hopper story is the Hopper Joyce Murray story. And it is, dare I say, it's not my favorite story in this. And to the point, the reason why I feel this way is because I feel like if you remove this part of the whole series, you wouldn't miss a beat. It is a side story to me. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, this definitely could have been like they could have done Stranger Things season 4. Then this could have been the thing that tied us over to see part 2 come out. You know, this could have been its own like little 3-episode miniseries thing in between. Season 4 part 1 and season 4 part 2. Yeah, but I think the only reason I don't think you could take it out because it would have been a pacing issue, because outside of X-Men Blue Team, which we'll talk about here shortly, and the whole thing with the town, I don't, the buyer story is weak by it, so it didn't really work, because, and we'll get to that later, what happens with them. But I really think you needed this story just to keep the pace going and kind of build a little more suspense.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about it, because we're talking about Joyce and Murray here. And what ends up happening is that Hopper has been imprisoned by the Soviets. The Soviets have him in prison, and he somehow managed to send out a package by way of Enzo. And Enzo is the code name of the police guard who somehow became a frenemy of Hopper. That's probably the best way to put it, right? Hopper is frenemy. And he sends out this package, and Joyce sees that this package has arrived and immediately says, oh, Hopper's alive, and who could help me? I'll get Murray to help me, because I know Murray knows Russian, and he's all into this whole, all this conspiracy stuff with Murray, and they somehow work out a way to get this ransom, right? So they end up speaking to Enzo.
He's a little convoluted,
right? And where did my first question is, where did this money come from?
I thought the same thing.
We don't worry about that. It's just it's one of those MacGuffins. We're just gonna play. You need it.
My question before that is, why did Joyce have to go like that extra mile with the tree and everything to break the doll?
I didn't understand that either. Like, why don't you just smash the doll? I mean, we gotta tell people about the doll, because that was what was in the package that she got with the doll.
Yeah, so and they did make a joke of it. There is a Hopper doll that you could purchase out there. Really? Yeah, and it has, as you open it, it has multiple characters. So definitely check it out. It's actually where I saw it was in Target. So if you go to my IG, you'll see the image of the Hopper doll, which is funny. But yeah, she breaks the doll. She gets the message. She goes to Murray. They talk to Enzo. Apparently, Murray knows how to decode things. He has all this equipment. And what they do, they make the decision that they're going to go to Alaska and meet this guy Yuri, right? And just
take them to Russia.
Straight up left the kid behind. Even
that's what I'm saying. Like, what? Wait, what? Huh?
And we haven't even talked about what happened to 11, right? So 11 is being bullied by this girl. They go to this roller rink, and in the roller rink, before she even does that, she tried to use her powers, which no longer exist at this time. and everybody laughs at her. Of course, like who this girl thinks she is? She thinks she's some superpowered character, and that's from the story Monster and Superhero. That's episode 3, and she goes up with this girl, and again, this is where Mike is starting to find out that she's really been lying to him about how things are going. But again, I don't think she's fully been lying, because I think throughout the whole episode, throughout the whole season, she does seem like she's in denial of what's really happening. Like in my mind, I think she really does think these people are her friends.
Yeah.
And then, when I was a kid like that, I knew kids like that believed that you were their friend or they were your friend when they really weren't. In their mind, you were their friend. So I think she's going through that kind of denial.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you think that, all right, so when she didn't have her power, was she afraid? You think she was afraid of what she could do if she got her powers back, that she was almost happy she didn't have her powers? In that one scene where she was out, I guess she was out in the
they were at the campus. They were at the campus.
Yeah, we're at the campus. Like the kids stepped on her little project and stuff. How she kind of like got up, and tried to do like the power thing, didn't work. You think that was kind of like a build up, like
that was build up? That was build up frustration. That's what that was.
Yeah,
that was as if we would be if someone was bullying us and we just couldn't take it anymore, and we just we lashed out in some way, right? That's what I think she was doing. But at the same time, she did forget that she does have powers. Or had the powers. So at that moment, she thought the answer to her problem was to destroy her in some way, right?
Right.
And obviously that wasn't. But it wasn't until the roller rink incident where she really, they threw the chocolate on her, the chocolate milkshake on her, and Will is confessing to Mike about how things really are going on, and then that's when she takes the roller skate and she just clocks the girl in the forehead.
A very good scene. That's pretty brutal for her.
and they let them all go, and then she gets arrested. Like arrested.
Yeah, I was expecting that. Arrested, they can do that. Like, there's no parent. You can't just take the kid.
But that's where things are like a little like there's some plot holes here, because Joyce is Joyce still present when she gets arrested? At this point, she's gone. I'm trying to remember. She's gone at this point.
They were in Alaska by this point. I think trying to get the flight.
That's right, because Jonathan was in charge. I remember now. Okay.
Right? Yeah, in charge. Oh, but what we need to talk about before all this, like the opening of season 4. Yes,
the opening of season 4, because there is a lot to talk. Again, this is one of those things that there's so much to talk about.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot.
The opening credits of season 4 is what we end up to known as the massacre in Hawkins' lab. That's what this is known as. So on this specific date in 1979, do you guys remember the date? I know it was 1979, but I'm not sure exactly what was the date.
I can't remember. I would have to look it up. I can't remember.
Yeah. So in 1979, there was a lab incident, or what they're referring to as the massacre, where it would appear that 11 killed all the other kids.
Yes.
Right? And they played it out in that way throughout the entire season, that 11 did something, and we're going through the motions of what's going on here. So throughout season 4, we're really getting flashback sequences of it, because what ends up happening here is that we see in the first few minutes of the show the massacre, right? The death scene. They put a disclaimer. One thing I noticed is that they put a disclaimer because of the incident that happened not that long ago. So they put a disclaimer warning people like, "Hey, we did this prior to all this stuff," and it was like it was a pretty brutal and graphic scene.
September 8th, 1979.
There, thank you. September 8th, 1979. So all this is part of the recordings that they do, because apparently they record everything. And throughout the season, we're starting to learn things about it, because it turns out that Dr. Brenner's alive.
You're like, wait, what? Did he have like a slight scar on his face? I couldn't tell.
Yes, he had the scar from the incident. That's the scar from the incident. So Dr. Brenner is alive. They did while 11 was in prison and she was going to be going to a juvenile facility. That's when the agents took over, and this doctor, played by Reiser. Trying to remember his name. If he's not, believe it or not, he's not in my list. That's so weird. Paul Reiser's character, his doctorate, the lab agent that's played by Paul Reiser. Anybody remember his name?
I just called him Paul Reiser.
I was called Paul Reiser, like, mad about you and aliens.
I think he goes by Peter as well, so I'm not sure.
Let me see.
That feels right.
We're gonna find out. Hold on a second. Go to my trusty Google.
Let's see here.
What's it not in here?
There we go.
Oh, jeez.
Let's see what's his name here.
That's the problem. You have so many characters.
Paul Reiser, Sam Owens, Dr. Sam Owens.
There you go. Yep. All right.
Peter's someone else. We'll talk about who's Peter later. All right. So Dr. Sam Owens, he's recruited. He's being recruited by the U.S. government because apparently something's going on, and really what's going on is that there's murders happening. So we're going all over the place now. So there are murders that are occurring in the town of Hawkins again. Specifically, there are murders for these three characters. These three characters are murders. First character is the cheerleader Chrissy, who at first, when we first see, I thought she was pregnant, to tell you the truth.
Really?
That's what I thought too.
I thought she was pregnant because when Max was in the bathroom with her, she was like, "Just leave me alone," and it looked like she was pregnant, but it was something else. So Chrissy, and then we have the other kid who is, I'm trying to remember his name. We've seen him before, so he's also one of the murders that occur. So
he was working with Nancy.
He was working with Nancy, but let's first start talking a little bit about Chrissy. All right, the cheerleader. All right, so Chrissy is dealing with these things, and she's seeing visions. Right, these visions that are happening that occurs with a clock, this grandfather clock. And she sees this grandfather clock, and she's being guilt. So all of this stuff is giving off Nightmare on Elm Street vibes.
Very heavy Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. Yeah.
That and a little bit of Hellraiser. And
a little
that line about suffering.
Yeah, there's a couple other little films we'll talk about later that I think it was pulling from, but.
Yeah, so we definitely getting this storyline that's pulling off of those horror stories from the 80s, but mostly Nightmare on Elm Street. That is actually one of the horror series I used to watch. I don't really watch horror series, but Nightmare on Elm Street I always watch. I always had this fascination with it, especially like Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I like that one the most.
Yeah, Dream Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting these murders, and it turns out that all three of these murders, it would appear that they're being done by this one of the new cast members, Eddie Munson, right? So Eddie Munson is a straight up metalhead. I love Eddie. He's one of those characters like Steve in season 1, where he starts off as kind of this jerk type of character, and he still is. It's not like he isn't, but he is definitely a metalhead who is into D&D, and he's definitely a stoner, so he's a bit of a dealer and stuff. But he has been attached to these murders because he has been present for at least 2 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about Eddie. What's your thoughts on Eddie?
I like him because when I was like, back in like middle school, high school, there was a guy like that. You know what I'm saying? He, if you got to know him, he was actually a pretty cool guy. He was like the outcast, the bad boy and stuff. But really, he was just like us. He liked the games and D&D. So I said, yeah, I could see this guy being somebody I can hang out with. So I liked him.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Jassy, you knew a guy like this?
Yeah, I dated a guy like that.
Oh yeah. So
lived in a trailer park and everything. So Yeah.
But if I can add, I think we need to set up him and Christy how we got to that point. And when we get to X-Men Blue Team, we got to set up at this point. Dustin, he's still doing the D&D thing and all that. Whereas Lucas is on the basketball team now, and that's how we're introduced to everybody. And it's this whole thing about how they want Lucas to still hang out with them and play D&D, but he's got his commitment to the jocks now. So that we got that something. Then we got Max, who's kind of isolated himself from everybody because of Billy's death. And that's how we first meet Christy, because I believe Max goes to the girls' bathroom. That she passes Christy along the way.
Yeah, we first get a glimpse of what Christy's going through by the bathroom scene, and she, to get away from the thoughts that she's having, she figures go to Eddie, right? And Eddie's going to provide her with heavier drugs.
Yeah,
right?
they kind of suppress
it. It was Special K. I remember they mentioned Special K, right. And at this particular moment, she becomes, I guess you could say, possessed by the villain of the story. All right, the villain of the story, because Eddie was not the murderer, as they said.
No.
Instead, the murderer was who ends up becoming the villain of this particular season, who we're going by the name Vecna. Now, Vecna goes back to their whole D&D, and they're calling him like the wizard of the Upside Down. Vecna is a very interesting character to me because he's very different from the previous incarnations of, I guess you could say, the villains from Stranger Things, because we never really had true villains until this season. Everything has been like animal based, or a freak, not a freak, but more on the like a force of nature type of.
Right, he's an intelligence.
He's a villain who has pinpointed his victims. Right, they're all teens. They all been through drama in some way, some kind of drama, and he's nitpicking them. And it's the next person that was on his list was Max. So let's talk about Max, because I think her story, I love the way they did her story, but there was also something, especially in this particular scene to me, where I think it was a little off with the whole Billy, going back to Billy and saying her goodbye. So Chastity, you had something to say?
No, well, we're past it now, but I mean, I was just going to say, like, the Chrissy character, she got a lot of character development, because she kind of in a short amount of time, because she started out as like what you would think of like a typical cheerleader in the 80s would like be, and then like that whole conversation she had with Eddie, like she became this likable, sweet kind of character, and then she was just gone, and I was just, it's just such a waste.
Poor Chrissy, right? No justice for Chrissy.
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about how it was a little off. I'll tell you something always bugged me about the Max situation. It's not her. So when she was first introduced to the story back in was it season 2 or 3?
Season 2. She was season 2.
Okay. All right. No, she can't. No, she's a new girl. It was the backstory was her mom. Her mom married the guy, right? And that he brought along Billy with him. The dad was a jerk. He was a monster in that. And he's very abusive. And really, it's his fault Billy died. If you think about, the way he treated Billy and everything, his path. And now, and fast forward to now, they're not even together anymore. It's like, this guy's got away scot-free. He ruined, like, all these lives. Like, I always thought he should have got taken out some kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah. So Max is, they identify that Max is one of the next potential victims of Vecna. And they're trying to find ways to kind of, like, prevent her from being the next victim. But in every instance, Vecna was getting, closer and closer to her, and they had no idea how to handle it until they were able to identify what was the story about, what was going on, what was the real deal. And that leads us to pretty much the next part of the story. And again, it hops all over the place, but really the gang is too busy. They're trying to figure out how to stop this Vecna character. And it really was Nancy who figured it out by going back.
The Nancy Drew.
Yeah, she really is the Nancy Drew. And her alongside Robin. By the way, this was Robin's best scene in the whole show to me. I think Robin steals the show. She's awesome. She's an awesome character.
She's a good character.
She really is a good character. She does a really good job. So they find out that there is a history going on, that there's some kind of connection going on with this family from the 50s, the Creole family. And the Creole family, they go to this house and the house apparently is haunted.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they tell us that the house is haunted. And within a week's time, this beautiful home has become a nightmare to them, right? To the point that the mother is killed in the same fashion as Christy.
Then the daughter.
And then the daughter. And the child, the boy he is comatose in the whole scenario. That's who we are. And what happened? So Victor, the father, who is, I guess you could say, was framed to be the guy that did the murders. So that's where it leads us to that story where Nancy and Robin are going to see if they could talk to Victor. So this is a big moment for us, right? Because we get this whole Silence of the Lambs thing going on, right? And right. they do this whole way of trying to figure out who is this Victor, and it turns out, we mentioned it before, Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, right?
Oh yeah, heavy.
And who is Victor? Just so happens to be Robert Englund. So the Nightmare on Elm Street vibes was done on purpose because we got Mr. Freddy Krueger himself in the scene, which, when I saw him, I was like, what just happened to him?
That's some good makeup, man. Eyes look gross.
Ugh. You got that pus coming out. Ew, disgusting. Yeah. So this story, what do you guys think about this particular story? The haunted house story, or what we think is the haunted house story.
I liked it. I mean, it was, because again, like in a world like this, of course there would be some like a haunted house, like the legend, all like the myths about some killer and all that. So it was cool they finally delivered on it. I think that was something kind of lacking in the previous seasons, was there was never really like that lore or that what's the word I'm looking for? Just like what I'm saying, just like the rumors, like legend has it that
like
man,
urban legend.
Yeah, urban legend,
like
the urban legend type thing. So I thought that was really cool. And for a minute, I said, okay, maybe there are supernatural elements. That'd been kind of wild. Like, all right, we got like this cosmic horror type thing, and we got ghost stuff too. So that it was cool. That they that was even a possibility. So I liked the whole thing.
Yeah, and this particular season had three stories, right? I would say there was three stories. There were some sub stories in there as well.
Yes,
but it was three majority stories. It was the story of 11, the story 11 and the lab. There's the story of Vecna and the gang. We'll just say the gang, right? The Hawkins kids, and then we have the third story. Why did it just escape me? The third story. There's three stories. I know there's three stories. And then we have the haunted house, right? And they're connecting the three stories in some way. Now, going back to the Hopper story, because I really want to go to the Hopper story a little bit and talk a little bit more about this particular story. All right. As I mentioned before, this is the one that I think is the weakest of all the stories, even though I think it's one of the funniest stories, right? It's very comical, especially Murray, with the full fact that he's like a black belt, and
they lost me with that one.
No, but it had to have that comedy in it, otherwise it would have just been.
It was just, I get it, but it was almost too much. I was like, all right, okay, I get you guys. All right, now he can do. He's like a superhero now.
Well, he's Kramer. I don't know if you ever watched the episode of Seinfeld. Yeah. He's Kramer. He's fighting karate with kids, right? He's like, yeah, this kid was, he's almost 16. His birthday's a couple of weeks. So,
but again, it was a situation that they had so much they had to tie up from last season, and they got they were tying things up. They're setting things up. Because like this show is about to end. We know after these next 2 episodes next month, there's one more season, and we don't know. There's a lot we still don't have answers to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that's why the Hopper name was kind of it was fast, right? It was pretty fast for what was supposed to happen in it, amongst everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think could I've done the story without the Hopper in Russia's story? I think I actually would have been fine if it wasn't part of the story. I don't know where they want to take it. It looks like there's going to be more answers in the second part.
Right.
The second volume of why they're there. Again, it's unrealistic to me that one, like we said earlier, how did she have the money? 2, they dropped the kids to go look for Hopper, who is, it's only a hunch that he's alive.
Right.
Right.
How fast they got there.
How fast. I will say being in the airplane was funny. There was a lot of scenes of that one. That stewardess, I would love to have Joyce punched her sometimes. Because she was so annoying. Yuri was a fun character. Enzo was a pretty good character. But again, it just felt so out of place in the rest of the whole story. It just felt like it was just, this is happening on this end. And
yeah,
go ahead.
They did that last season too with Hopper, with the whole Terminator guy. Like that felt a little out of place too. Cause when they were fighting, like that never crossed over what was going on with Levin and them in the mall. Like, you had these 2 big events at the exact same time, but they never, they felt so separated, and they're kind of doing the same thing in this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And so, we get to it at the end. It seems like the Soviets are housing a Demigorgon, and, and apparently Hopper knows how to battle them. So
yeah, I mean, I don't remember. How did he know fire hurt him? What season was that established?
It had to have been last season. I'm going to say it was last season that they established the whole fire thing.
It could have been. I can't remember, dude. I mean, I probably need to go back and watch everything again. But
I think that was established.
Mm-hmm. It was definitely established. The fire thing was established.
So we can go and talk about what happened in that part, or is that too soon now?
Yeah, go for it. No, we're in spoiler territory, man.
Yeah, all right. So everybody, I mean, pretty much if you cut the trailers together, you can figure out what happened. So they got Hopper and these other guys in this little arena, and they released a Demigorgon on it, so he can like tear them apart. Hopper figures out how he steals a bottle of liquor. Has steals a lighter from the guard, makes a spear with a flame at the end, because that hurts the Demigorgon. But what I thought was funny was when the Demigorgon first came out, he was just, again, it was a melee thing. He was throwing guys against, building, crushing them with his hand. But in season 1, Steve was beating the heck out of one with a baseball bat.
Well, tell me this much: how come did the Demigorgon pick everybody except Hopper? Like,
yeah,
Hopper's literally turning on he's there with
his back to it, right? Like, this thing was just like, wait a minute. Like, he's been pretty cool about this.
Demigorgon's like, yeah, I don't want that guy. I want those guys.
Yeah. That was, again, it's just the suspension of disbelief. So you got to do that with these things, and like, he is the hero and you can't kill him. Like, wow, so it's like, you just got to do it.
And he was so like, and again, I think it was established in the previous seasons that he is very intelligent.
Yeah.
He does have a lot of street smart. So a lot of the things that he was doing, I could see him doing that. I could see him being like that. The only thing was that when he didn't speak much, but when he spoke, it's as if he wasn't speaking for a long time because he had to throw in a whole 10-minute diatribe.
His monologue,
yeah, he's monologuing, and I'm like, dude, man, won't shut up now. You know what I mean? And
I kept joking about this being.
It was like 3 scenes like that, wasn't it?
I kept joking about it being the Hellboy origin story.
Well, he did play Hellboy, so unfortunately, that movie we do not talk about. But
yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, the cool thing about Hopper, he definitely has the John McClane thing going on. Like, he's the everyday man who, who's as tough as nails, kind of comes through the end. So, I mean, that's why I like him.
Oh, no, I love Hopper. He's definitely one of my favorites. So let's go back to the whole Max story and going back to how they found a way to, I guess, prevent her from being killed by Vecna. And the answer was Kate
Music.
Bush. It was Kate Bush.
Yes.
Wasn't even music. It was Kate Bush, right?
Which was the perfect, you know. I mean, what else song could you imagine her listening to at that point? It was we heard quite a bit of Kate Bush in this. This season.
That particular scene was so great. Just seeing her run. Well, they opened the gate. They opened a portal, and just seeing her run. And you're like, my wife was watching, like, no, go Max, no Max. And I'm like, don't kill her, don't kill. Because again, in a show like this, you just don't know if they're going to go there.
Yeah. Nobody's safe in this show.
Nobody's safe. It may not be exactly Walking Dead, but you just don't know. So I do believe someone's going to sacrifice themselves. Again, everybody's pointing to Murray. But I don't know if Murray's the guy to make the sacrifice.
I have my suspicions. We'll say that for later. I got an idea who one person may be the one to bite the dust, but we'll talk about that a little later. But the add to the scene, we'll call it the Kate Bush scene, right? This is by far probably one of the best scenes in the whole Stranger Things series.
Yeah,
if I can say that, you know,
I agree.
Just the way it was shot, man, because like, you know, when Vecna first gets her, you know, he's talking to her and he has her, you know, he's about to, you know, do his thing. Then they play the music and they cut to behind him. You see the portal open up, but you hear the song in the background and just the look on his face and the lighting. Then you cut to her, like it was something about that just worked so well.
Yeah, I agree.
It was very 80s. It's like the perfect mix of 80s and horror.
Yeah. So now we got our team. Our second team has been established, and that's why she's always walking around with her headset. So it's just, you know, she's always been that character, right? With the Walkman. So her and Lucas are kind of getting back together because Lucas, he's gone through his own world, right? He's like, I'm a jock now. I'm no longer a geek and all that. And Max is kind of like, you know what? But he really cares for her. But what's the interesting thing is, I think that what they're focusing more on is Nancy and Steve.
Yeah, and I was like, why did it take so long to do this? Because I mean, I never really bought her and
Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan. I mean, it just never felt. It felt, you know, it felt very forced to me. Like it was. I guess it worked for like the first season.
It was it was kind of like a spur of the moment, right? Damsel in distress type of thing.
It did. But season 2 and 3, it does not work for me. You could tell like there was just no chemistry there with them. I mean, I know that I think in real life they're a couple, right? But on the show, I don't know, man, it just didn't work. But Steve and Nancy just worked so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Steve has gone through so much, man. Since season 1 to now, he's a completely different type of character. Where in season 1 he is the jock, he is the popular guy, and now he struggles to be popular and to be that guy, right?
He's probably one of the most fleshed out characters, I think, so far in the show.
And you know, I love, and again, the whole Robin of it all, with Robin's connection to both of them. Now Robin's like, you know, there's a thing going on here. It's like Robin's seen it all the way, and it's like, and then Eddie catches that too in the boat.
It's funny.
So, you know, so Eddie's like, yeah, there's a thing. You're like, take advantage. I mean, you know, you know. So Steve, so they Dustin, the genius of the group, he determines that every death is an opening. So what Vecna's doing, he's taking advantages of these people so he can open a doorway to the real world, right? From the upside down. So they identify that Vecna's doing that. So what they end up doing is that they end up in the Lover's Lake, right? And in Lover's Lake, that's where they determined that I love the title Watergate. Of course they use the term.
That was
Watergate.
Hilarious, yeah, like Watergate.
So Steve jumps himself in, he sees the opening, and one of the creatures takes him in, right? So first person to go out to try to save him is Nancy.
Which I saw that coming.
Nancy, and then Robin jumps. And I love the way Eddie puts it, right? He put it like, I jumped because I didn't want to look stupid in front of the other people, pretty much.
Luckily, they all could swim. Because been a little different. You know, the genre moment would have been lost.
Yeah. And they can hold their breath for a quite long time too.
Yeah, they're pretty, deep down. I always laugh. Every time I see like underwater scene in the film, I laugh because like they're very well lit to say it's nighttime underwater. So you can see everything. Okay.
So while all that is going on, we jump back to 11, right? All that's happening. We jump back to 11, and now what ends up happening is that Dr. Brenner is again, as we haven't have an answer for how he's still alive. We still don't know how he's alive, but they're performing what's called the Nina Project, right? The Nina Project is the thing is 11 lost her powers. Brenda really believes that trauma will bring it back.
Right.
Right. So what they have to do is that they pretty much have to jumpstart her memories of those moments till her powers can return. So that's his theory. And in that theory, what we're seeing is what we call, I guess you could say, flashbacks. And in this flashback moments, there is an orderly who has befriended 11. And, I have to say, he looked like a good guy, but there was something fishy about him.
Right.
Right. So he was constantly giving her pointers. He was constantly like guiding her, to make her feel comfortable. So in every given moment, again, 11's being bullied. We find out that she was bullied while she was in the lab by 2 and some of the other ones. And he was always there to kind of like encourage her and make her feel better. So she ends up befriending him. And this is where the story, I wouldn't say takes a left turn, but the velocity speeds up. Because now we start learning more about who this guy is, right?
Yeah, I agree. At first, when we first started doing the flashbacks, I didn't know how I felt about it at first. I was like, we're doing this now. It was like, it felt like familiar, like we've seen this already, right? But I think what you're about to say, when we get to that point, it's okay. All right, now I'm seeing where you're going with it.
Yeah, and I think this particular character was, again, he was like, there's something interesting about it. There was a moment that he gave her a pointer, and they found out that he did, so they ended up beating him up, right, in the private cell, and she saw it. And then towards the end, he gave her a pointer that to escape, in which he had some kind of inhibitor chip. And he's trying to tell, you got to escape, you got to leave. Don't worry, this is a prison for every one of us. Just, and stuff. And then she says, no, I'm going to help you. And she removes the inhibitor chip. And when she removes the inhibitor chip, that's when things got real.
What was the line he said? Because he took it, he said something. And what he said, that's what kind of made me, okay, I think you're one of them. It was something he said, like something so little can cause so much trouble. Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It was something like that. Yeah.
But I don't know. This clicked. It was okay. I said he's. I didn't necessarily think he was number one, but I figured he was a psych. He had some kind of power or something.
You did call that out because the little
number.
They
kept on
in
the one.
He always sat by the.
Yeah, he always sat on the side where the one was at. I say,
oh really?
Always, by the one. Said, there's like little nuanced things in there.
Yeah, and it turns out that he was number one. Yeah. Right? But what's even more interesting about that fact that he was and that was something that I told my wife, like, could it be that he's number one? Right? But he's an orderly because there is no number one. There's a number two, but there's no number one. And it'll be weird not to have a number one. So it turns out that he is, in fact, was number one. But that wasn't that much of a big reveal. The bigger reveal was who he really is. And that's the moment where you go, not only is he number one, he is the son of Victor Creel. Which was like, boom. That was like, oh my goodness.
That threw me off. I really didn't put that together. Oh, okay. That was a good twist.
right? Because again, the son was comatose, right?
Right.
So they did say that he was comatose. They did mention that, and at this point, Peter, that's his name, Peter, was not only number one, he was also the boy with the Creole family. He's Peter from the Creole family, and more importantly, what was big, the bigger reveal was he's responsible for the deaths of not only his mother but his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that he's number one. He has the powers. Now, we don't know how he got these powers, but he knew there was something different about him. He knew that there was something off. He learned about the powers. He started using it, and of course, he used them for evil rather than for good.
Maybe he's like the apocalypse of
He really is.
of the kids.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I I hope they do explore more of that, like where his powers came from, because if they've established this world where there is an upside down world, like we need to know. It can't just be he just randomly got powers. I mean, you could do that, but it seems like there'd be a higher purpose of what that came from. Maybe the two connect. We don't know. Did something from the upside down world give him the powers? I mean,
something like in the house where there was already a portal because things were happening that kind of possessed him. I don't know.
I think it had to form with it. I didn't know just where everything went down.
It is something that they have not yet revealed to us where 11 and everyone else got their powers. We all know they have their powers. Is it related to the upside down? Where's the true origin of the upside down has not yet been revealed yet.
Right.
Neither has the true origin of how they received these powers and why they have these special powers. So we learn about Peter being number one. So apparently he was also experimented on by Brenner. Brenner's one of those guys to me, like, is he really a good guy? You know what I mean?
No, he's like
no, he's bad.
He's kind of like Victor Frankenstein. Frankenstein wasn't a good guy. He just made he's just a mass. He's kind of like a mad scientist almost.
He really is a mad scientist, right?
He has no care for anyone.
I think there's a little bit. I do feel he has some empathy for 11, a little bit. I think there is somewhat a father.
Well, apparently, because it was him that planned for her to get bullied and stuff.
Yeah, but I think that was the condition of her powers. I think he was trying to push her to see how to see how powerful she really can become. I think everybody knows.
So you're saying that he orchestrated her powers to be, I guess, to come out, or do you
believe so?
Or you think Peter did it?
Because Peter gave her the whole thing about the memory, like the bad memory of something bad happening,
right.
And
I don't think he planned for the Peter thing to happen. I do believe he was trying to push 11 to see how powerful she was. I don't think he realized that the Peter thing was going to happen. I don't think he knew she could take the finger out of his neck and all that. I think that was probably the goof. Cause even remember, even in the opening scene when we saw from his point of view, how he was in the one room with the one child, and he was asking the child what's going on in the upper room. He was trying to find information out. I'm not sure what that was about either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So, and it is interesting enough because I do believe Peter orchestrated everything to happen. But I'm not sure where Brenner comes in because someone had to turn off the cameras. Someone had to make it, push 11 to do the things that she ended up doing, right? But it was the massacre that we saw in the first episode, in the first few minutes of the episode. The massacre wasn't 11 as it would appear to be, right? The massacre was actually Peter, who just went ape wall on everybody. And he's still, the interesting thing about Peter's character is that Peter truly was a friend to 11. Right. And he felt that 11 could be his, they could be together in some way, right? I don't know in what kind of way, maybe like a brother and sister connection.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
right? Because he did care for her enough to say, "You're with me. You got to be with me. We're different. We're not like them," kind of thing, right? It's almost like a Magneto approach, right? Like, come join me. But at this particular scene here, Peter was responsible for the death of all the children. Peter was responsible for the death of all the soldiers and agents that were killed on that day. But it was 11 that stopped him. And what made it even more crazy to find out is that 11 stopped him by doing the one thing that I think we all saw it, but we didn't want to see it, was that Peter wasn't just Peter the child, Creel's son. Peter wasn't number one. Peter's also Vecna, which makes you go, what the heck just happened?
I know there's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, this guy had a rough life.
So now Vecna is, we now know at the end of this season, well, at the end of this chapter or this volume, we'll call it volume, we know that Peter is Vecna all along. I kind of saw it. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I think he might be Vecna.
Yeah. Towards the end, I didn't know how it happened. No, that was the thing. How did the transition happen?
Mm-hmm. So that's where we leave off. We leave off with the reveal that Peter is now Vecna. 11. Do we know that 11 has her powers now, or we just know that she now knows what happens that day?
Well, they kind of showed it when they cut to like her in the tank and like she made all the lights flicker and stuff. And so they kind of set up that she's got her powers back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at this particular time, Nancy's also been selected by Vecna. So right now, at the end of this episode, at the end of this volume, Nancy's trapped. But Vecna revealed himself to Nancy. So as we watch this final episode, it is Vecna who's monologuing to Nancy about who he is, where he came from, what it was all about. At the same time, 11 is remembering what happened that night, that day, and stuff. So we leave off with this. We know now that Vecna is Peter. We know now that he is feeding off of the other teenagers. He's creating portals through them, because every time a death happens, he creates a portal from it. So there's different he's creating multiple openings. The reality for me is, what is his end game?
We talked about that.
Yeah, I think he's trying to take over the world. He's literally trying to open. He wants to bring the upside down world to our reality. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Plus he's kind of an agent of chaos. Even in the monologue, he was talking. He doesn't care about life at all. Like, he hates the human race.
Yeah.
He figures like we're pretty much useless. We just we're born, live, die, and it repeats all over. He thinks he's a higher evolution of that, and I think that's he just wants to destroy all this. And I guess maybe the whole recreate thing in his image type thing. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it goes back to, is he the main guy, or is he working for the Mind Flayer? And that's kind of like the deal they had worked out. Where, all right, I open the portal, just let me do what I want to do. Is that?
Go ahead, Chastity. You were gonna say something?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the whole thing that Vecna has said before 11 sent him the Upside Down was about, like, he had taken on the power of all the other kids.
Yeah,
when he killed them. Yeah. Yet 11 was able to
still
defeat him. Mm-hmm. So I have some questions.
Well, 11's the most powerful. I mean, I still think she's the most powerful. I think she's more powerful than she hasn't tapped into. It's kind of like Jean Grey and the Phoenix thing. Mm-hmm. That's why I look at it. She's probably OP as heck.
A lot of X-Men reference.
X-Men, yeah, there's a lot of X-Men in there.
Well, the Duffers said it. They love all the stuff that's going on, and X-Men were huge in the 80s. I can tell you that.
Oh
much. Yeah, they were big. Everybody talks about the 90s X-Men. The X-Men of the 80s were big.
That was the Claremont era, right?
Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont, man, he owned the 80s. Comic books were the X-Men, so you had to get X-Men comics, So what are our thoughts moving into Volume 2, guys?
Can't get here soon enough.
Not that long. It's only July 1st.
I know. I'm excited. I want to say everybody comes together because they kind of split everybody up so they're spread out so far. You got Hopper and them there in Russia. You got the other gang there in California. You got the kids in Hawkins. So I wonder how they're all going to come together, and what's the plan? Like now 11's back. Oh, then you got 11. Where are they at? Are they in
They're in a secret underground
Arizona? So where are they?
They're in a bunker somewhere. They're in the Nina project.
Yeah.
So what I'm assuming.
They're in Westworld the way that door was.
I know, right? they're probably going to use the trope about the portals. All of them probably going to find portals where they can just walk through it and all be in the same area at the same time. I think that's where they're going.
Yeah, I think in the case of Hopper, Joyce, and Murray, they're going to go through a port to get back, right?
Right.
They're somehow going to get back through that portal. They're not going to fly in because
no,
that's not going to happen, right?
No.
So I see them come back. There are going to be things that are going to be revealed about what the Soviets are doing with their version of the project.
Yeah. There's that too,
right?
I mean,
that information is going to be revealed. I think we're going to get more information about Will and where Will's coming. We're definitely going to see that poster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got to see that poster.
I just hope it's not after we lose Will.
Do you notice how they just disappeared? Will and Mike and all of them, like that whole group, they just disappeared the last hour.
They ended up going to see Dustin's girlfriend. Remember?
Yeah, I remember that part. Yeah, and
that's where we left off.
Okay, yeah.
So we left them off there where Argyle was with this girl's sister, and they were just smoking and stuff. So that was pretty funny. So we got them. They're gonna somehow end up back. I'm sure 11's gonna come back to them first, and then they're gonna go back to Hawkins. And we're not even touching on the subject about Jason the jock. The motivational speaker.
I don't think he's gonna make it, man. I think he's gonna get taken out.
You think he's gonna be taken out? Yeah,
he's gonna come in there gonna try. I guess they're gonna set up where he finally finds our man. He's gonna try to confront him or whatever, and something bad is gonna happen to him. Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe Murray will be there to.
Yeah, Murray better take care of things.
Hey, Murray, right? So, guys, before we go, man, I want you guys to promote your Kickstarter that you guys going on right now. So go ahead, guys.
All right. Well, we got 13 days left now, I think.
Yeah, 13
days. We got 13 days left. Yeah, I haven't looked at it in a few hours. I'm not sure where we're at right now. But we got 13.
Let me go ahead and find it, but keep talking while I go look for it.
13 days left. It's a Rabbit's Bad.
We're right under 50% right now. Yeah.
Rabbit's Badass Songs. Story about revenge, fried chicken, guys with scary rabbit masks fighting bad people, and there's superheroes and supervillains tied into this universe, and we get to see all kinds of crazy stuff happens. So
it's a clear plan too.
What's the name of the project again?
Rabbit's Badass Song.
Yeah, Rabbit's Badass Song. That's what it was.
It's a play off of an old exploitation movie called Sweetback's Badass Song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
It was the first.
Yeah, the first blaxploitation film. Melvin Van Peebles wrote and directed it. But if you like, The Boys, you like Watchmen,
you like Pulp Fiction, and you're not offended by harsh language and violence,
then this is for you. And if you like the story structure of the awesome manga Berserk, then this is what you need to check out.
I don't know why I can't seem to pick it up. I'm trying to find it.
You can go to my Facebook page if I hit the link.
But it's Rabbit's Badass, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Rabbits,
Yeah.
Okay, I found it. I think I found it. Yeah, you're at 80%. Good job.
Oh, sweet.
You're at 80% of your goal. So let's go ahead and show that off so everybody can see it.
Oh, wow.
I don't know when that happened.
So here you guys go, man. 80%, man. 51 backers, 13 days to go.
Oh, again, wow.
Yeah, good job, man. You're getting there, again. A project that we love. This is a Kickstarter project, so definitely go check out this project.
We gotta make some up. I gotta make some updates tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the chat so that if anybody wants to go into it and see the project, they can go ahead and see the project from the chat. Yeah, definitely support this project. This is one of those projects. Again, Phil Russett, man, had high praises for you guys in this work, man.
Yeah, I saw. Yes, I watched. He was on Facebook Live earlier. I watched some. He said some very kind things. I really appreciate him. But he's got an awesome project too. Tragedy. I got issues 1 and 2. In my in the room, and I've read them a few times. And I even did like a little. We got a YouTube channel. I did like a little review.
Yeah.
For his thing too.
Cool. Yeah, man. So definitely go check it out. Back this project up. It's there for you guys to see it. We got 13 days remaining. I think you guys are gonna make it. I'm confident you guys are gonna make it.
Oh yeah, I want to push it now.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm pushing more. I've been pushing it, but I'm pushing it more.
Not that far off, man. We're doing, just we get to there. 13 days, man. You could do it. So with that said, guys, it is great having you, Chris, Chastity. Thank you for being it. Oh, before we go, what's your overall score from a score of 1 to 5, 5 being the best? What would you give Stranger Things season 4, volume 1? Chris,
I give it a 4.
Yeah, why would you give it a 4?
I just the first 3 episodes just weren't really doing it for me. I think there was a lot. It could have been trimmed down a little bit. You're right. The Harbour thing was a little kind of like shoehorned in. The buyers, I don't know what they're doing with these guys anymore. But they're just kind of like just just there taking up space. But by the time we got to that 4th episode, Dear Billy, I was back on board. So yes, like from that point on to the very end, this is what I was wanting to see. And, they cranked up the horror in it. And my favorite characters in it, like Steve and X-Men Blue Team, like they don't they always deliver. So I gotta give it a 4.
Yeah, the X-Men Blue Team was always the more popular team out of the bunch. Yeah. I remember. Chastity, what you give it?
I would say like a 3.5. Just because I predicted a lot of what was going to happen before.
She did. She really did.
And so there were some predictability issues for me, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy that there was more horror than there had been. And I guess I enjoyed like all the Nightmare on Elm Street and all the Hellraiser and even, I'm going to say it was a Victor Crowley Hatchet homage. Yeah.
What about you?
All right, my turn, right? So again, with everything that we talked about, I think the season overall was very well. It was, first of all, it was enjoyable. There was a lot of comedy that I liked. I always loved Steve and Dustin together. I love Robin. I think Robin was great. I do think the Hopper story was one of those stories that I could have done without, even though I enjoyed every moment. I think every moment of the Hopper story, especially Joyce and Murray, it brought back the comedic sense, but it didn't feel part of this. It wasn't necessary. It was just like there was a lot of plot lines that were missing from it. Again, where did this money come from? How did she have it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You know what I mean? The fact that she just left the kids behind for a hunch that Hopper's still alive.
Yeah.
But then again, that's kind of Joyce-like anyway, because remember with Will, she was like, Will's alive. Like, no, he's not. And she was right. So there's that. I think what sold me the most was the 11 lab story. I like that story, and really the whole Peter aspect and the connection to it all. And where this is going to take us for the second part, the second chapters, right? The second volume. So with that said, I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 Izzy's. That is what it's going to be for me. Yeah. Volume 1 is 4 out of 5 Izzy's. I can't give it that 5 because of that Hopper story. I don't think it was necessary. That's the one thing that I think was not needed in this story. But they could prove me wrong with volume 2. I think they might, but I don't think it's necessary. So that's what I think it's going to be. No, so Chris, Chastity, stick around. I'm going to just put you in the lobby for a minute, and we're going to end up this stream here. All right, guys? But thanks for coming by, Chris and Chastity. We'll talk to you guys soon. So what did you think about Stranger Things? I want you to let me know in the comments. What score would you give it? Would you give it 4 out of 5 like I did, or would you give it more? Would you give it less? Tell me what's your thoughts of the characters, the new characters, Eddie, What do you think about Robin? Is Vecna a good villain? Is Peter a really good villain? And what we got to go there? What about Robert Englund's appearance? All that stuff. Let me know in your comments. Again, if you put your comments in, it will enter you to win a chance to get the 2 comic books that I have here. And again, I'm trying to build the subscriber list. So Aquaman #1 here for 750 subscribers. So that's going to be one. And when we hit that 800 subscribers, you're going to get Spawn. So go ahead, Spawn. 329 sketch covers. You will have a sketch included in this cover. So go ahead and leave a comment here. Again, if you're looking for comic books, if you're looking for a place to buy comic books, I would say go to Comic Exposure. You're going to get 15%, not 5, not 10, 15% off with promo code IzzyVerse. Go to Comic Exposure right now if you want to get that percentage. And again, lastly, starting next week, we're going to do a pre-show for the Bronx Comic Book Show. I'm going to have Fury Comics with me and some other guests that's going to be a part of this show. We're going to be looking out for that one for Friday evening. As always, you can always get the comic pull list every Sunday now. I'm going to post the comic pull list. That way it gives you enough time to pick your books of choice. And with that said, guys, I'm a big fan of Stan Lee. So Excelsior, and enough said, guys. Till next time, you've been part of the IzzyVerse. See you then. Bye.